Good evening, everyone. My name is Mayor Beverly H. Burks, and this is the September 3rd, 2024 meeting. I'll begin with roll call, starting with Vice Mayor Deborah Johnson.
Present.
Councilwoman Hood.
Present.
Councilman Carroll.
Present.
Councilwoman Bell.
Present.
And Councilman Perkins.
Present.
And I'd recognize our interim city manager, Tammy Sadler-Jones. Are there any updates or corrections to the agenda?
I got it. I have an update to the agenda. I move that we remove item 3A to approve the May 28th, 2024 City Council work session meeting minutes. Just an error on the agenda.
And I second.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded to remove item 3A, which is May 28th, 2024 City Council work session meeting minutes. Are there any discussion? You ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed, and so we will exclude that item from the agenda. With that, we'll move into the item 3, which is presentation administrative business, and we will look for the approval of the following meeting minutes. And now that was 3A, we'll have B and C, which is 8/8/2024 City Council meeting minutes and 8/27/2024 City Council work session meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion for those minutes at this time.
I move to approve, but I may have a change. Yes, okay. I do have a change on the 8/8/24.
Okay, so you're making a motion to approve the minutes with the following changes?
With the following changes, yes.
Okay.
On the minutes for the regular city council meeting on 8/8/24. There's no, okay. Item D. There is a
Item 8D, or what D?
Well, I don't have a copy of the agenda to go with it, and there's no page number. So
Okay, what's the item D?
it's new business, D. New business, item D.
Okay.
There's a D and E are duplicate, well, they're not duplicates. E should be, the first E should be deleted because it's really under D. Mm-hmm. And then F should be reset as E.
Okay.
Any of that makes sense?
Okay, so that is more from a grammatical perspective. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and City Attorney, with that, since there's no change in the wording, we can just go ahead, approve the minutes with the noted change.
Yes, I think that'd be fine, as long as the city clerk understood what to do.
Okay, so then at this point, I'll take that motion from you. Councilwoman Hood. I'll take the motion.
Yes.
Okay, so you want us to approve the minutes for 8A?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is there a second?
She got to make the motion.
She
That was it?
she made the motion earlier just to
With the changes.
no. So do me a favor, Councilwoman Hood. So for this one, just move to approve the minutes for 8/8 City Council meeting, and if you would like to, you can also do 8/27 Council meeting if you didn't have any other changes.
I move to approve the minutes for August 8th, 2024 council meeting and for the work session on August 27th.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes for 8/8 City Council meeting and for 8/24 city council work session meeting. Is there any discussion?
I just want to be clear on what was changed. Was it just the lettering?
It's the lettering.
Just
okay.
formatting.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you all. And then we'll move into reports, starting with the Planning and Economic Development Report.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council and the public. I have a couple of reports for you tonight. The boards have been active. As you received in your report, the DDA, along with other chairmen of the Planning and Zoning and Historic Preservation Commission, toured with the DDA. It was not, we did not discuss any city business. Of course, this was a tour to review the designated downtown areas. And with that, we saw a lot of interesting things, but the grandeur of what we faced and what we saw was necessary. Saw that it was necessary to do the development and revitalization of our downtown areas. And so with that, we've set some goals, and I've spoken with ULI. They have a couple of programs that they can actually have a group of professionals, people who have been in the business for years, to come together as a team. And I believe that the city has actually benefited from those services in the past. They have what they call an MTAP program that we're looking at sending in scopes and having those individuals to help us bring together some goals for our downtown area. We also have investors and commercial developers that's also looking at our properties downtown, and I have been speaking with those individuals as well to get some ideas. So stay tuned. Our Planning and Zoning Board, we met. We have a new member. The new member was actually acclimated. She's very familiar with the Planning and Zoning Board. We we went over some training materials, and a couple of the documents that I'm strongly recommending that our board members become familiar with is the zoning ordinance and our comp plan. And so we'll be going over those in every meeting. We're also looking at some design guidelines, and I'm receiving recommendations from each member. So those should be coming before this board probably by the end of the year, around November, December. And then our Historic Preservation Commission, we had a great discussion on 40 Oaks and pretty much all of the historic areas in the city that we know of. And I was given information from some previous members that work had been done, and so we're looking for that information as well. Also, I received information that there was a joint committee meeting, and from that came an organization called Friends of 40 Oaks. They presented at the Historic Preservation Commission meeting, and from what I understand from that will come an advisory board and maybe some other committees. But I did inform the young lady that was presenting that that 40 Oaks is under Parks and Recs, and that not only will our Historic Preservation and Planning and Economic Development report to the Parks and Recs manager, but I encourage that they will also reach out to the Parks and Recs manager so that we can make sure that we are going in the same direction and not going in several different directions. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from this report? Hearing none, we'll move into the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The first item that I have, I'd like to introduce our new Director of Human Resources and Risk Management, Dr. Dwight Baker. Although he cannot physically be here tonight due to a family obligation, I did want you guys to have a chance to see who he was and for the public to see that the city of Clarkston, we're continuing to move forward by hiring our first ever Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. And again, his name is Dr. Dwight Baker. For the benefit of the council, I did want you to make sure you refer to page 21 of your agenda packet. It lists the interim city manager contract log. There are 2 contracts that fall within the spending authority of $10,000 to $25,000. So please refer to that spreadsheet. And anytime going forward, if we have any of those contracts that fall within that range, those will be listed on a spreadsheet and included in your agenda packet. Wanted to make sure that the public was aware that we have a food giveaway coming up this coming Saturday, September the 7th, 2024. Saturday, September the 7th, 2024. The food giveaway will be at Tahoe Village Shopping Center here in Clarkston, located at 4604 East Ponce de Leon. And it will begin at 10 a.m. and it will be until supplies last. So please come early and get in line. Also, I wanted to just give a heads up for the public that we have our Trunk or Treat event coming up on Saturday, October the 26th. That's going to be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you are interested in volunteering for that particular event, please make sure you contact Ms. Keisha Dixon in the interim city manager's office, and you can reach her by email at klDixon@cityofclarkston.com. What's the email address? Almost had a little brain there on the klDixon@cityofclarkston.com. Also, the budget year has begun for fiscal year 2025. So the mayor and council, I wanted to remind you, if you haven't responded to Ms. Dixon, if you will please let her know when you are available for the meeting between myself, the finance director, and each of you. We're doing small group meetings, so if you can please respond with your availability as soon as possible, because we want to try our best to get the budget completed about a month in advance of our usual time frame. Also, I wanted to make you aware, which the council is already aware of this, that the city of Clarkston, we were contacted by DeKalb County, make sure I got the right thing here, DeKalb County Board of Health. They wanted to make us aware that they have mosquito traps here in our area, and one of the traps did have a positive test amongst the mosquitoes collected for West Nile. She did stress, the individual that contacted us, that there is one confirmed human case in DeKalb County, but not in the city of Clarkston. I repeat, there is no West Nile case in the city of Clarkston, but there is one in DeKalb County. So we would like to encourage you some tips for making sure you reduce mosquitoes. That is to eliminate standing water, maintain your yard, clean gutters and drains, and also install screens and repair hose, and also to use EPA-approved mosquito repellent. So please make sure you protect yourself at all costs. And the final thing I wanted to mention was our communications manager, Rotunda Burdette, would like for the public to be aware that we do have information if you want to stay updated about news related to the city of Clarkston. If you have your phones out, you can take it out. You can scan that QR code and you can sign up to receive city news. Also, she has the sheet in the back of the room for those of you who are present here in the council chambers. And we encourage you to stay connected to all the things that we do. And of course, you can always go on our website and of course, follow us on social media. So thank you very much, Mayor. That's all I have.
Okay, are there any questions for this report? Hearing none, we'll move to the city attorney's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, council. Yes. I have a report for you tonight on the 2024 legislative session at the General Assembly and some laws that are relevant to local government and one that's relevant to our residents, I believe. So this is just a quick overview. I mean, this could be like a all-day thing. We're not trying to make it that. But if you do have questions about these, feel free to ask if it's quick now or follow up in detail later. All right, here we go. These are all laws that were both passed by the General Assembly and signed into law by the governor and are either recently effective or will be effective soon. So the first one is HB 456 regarding municipal court. Increased the term of office for the municipal court judge from 1 year to 2 years. So our next appointment of the municipal court judge will be for 2025 and 2026. The municipal court judge can be removed during the term for breach of contract, and we do a written contract with the judge, so we might want to give a closer look to that to make sure that we, in addition to the usual contractual things, that it addresses any special concerns or expectations that the city council has. Next we have HB 581, floating homestead exemption. So this is a law that, well, first of all, this one will only become effective if a constitutional amendment passes in November. Based on my observation over the years and knowing that the question is basically, do you want to reduce your taxes? I think there's a really high chance that it will pass. So what it does is for homestead properties, meaning that it's it's a residential property that is occupied by its owner, and they register it as their one and only homestead. For these properties, the assessment and any increase in assessment will be capped at a index of inflation. So, for example, if your home is assessed at $100,000 in 2024 and the inflation rate for 2024 is 4%, then the most that the DeKalb County Tax Assessor's Office could effectively increase the assessment of your home is to $104,000. So this has been a topic of some concern in various communities. I think, you know, anticipating how much this might impact tax revenues has to do with relatively how many homesteads do you have in the community versus renter occupied properties. My understanding from these meetings over the years is that Clarkston has relatively more renter occupied properties than homestead occupied properties, but this is still something to keep in mind when budgeting and setting the millage rate. Really more for the millage rate. All right. An important thing about that is that if the constitutional amendment passes, every local government, county or city will have the opportunity with a deadline of March 1st, 2025 to opt out of this law, in which case the DeKalb County tax assessor could increase just like they always did in the past. Next, HB 1073 regarding cameras at gasoline stations. This state law preempts any city or county from requiring cameras inside or outside any place that sells gasoline for automobiles. So we are going to need to revisit an ordinance that we have in that regard. I'm just the messenger here. HB 1105, immigration enforcement. This requires police departments in the state of Georgia to enforce detainer requests from ICE, which are basically so-called administrative warrants. Since we do not maintain a jail, we are not going to frequently experience these requests. Nonetheless, there are some serious threats in the state law about taking away all state funding if a municipality does not cooperate. So what GMA recommends is that our police department enter into a MOU with Department of Homeland Security, basically saying that we will honor your detainer request. Again, those are typically given to a jail in order to stop someone from being released, and we don't have a jail. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Fine with me. Sure.
Yeah, I remember like several years ago, maybe 5 years ago, we did pass an ordinance basically saying we wouldn't cooperate with these detainer requests.
Yeah.
That ordinance, I think, is still in effect as far as I know, although it was removed because at the time we did have a jail, and now we don't. So do we need to change that ordinance to comply, or does it not matter since we don't have a jail?
I think it would definitely be a good idea to revisit that, and repeal it. I'll have to double check whether that was an ordinance or a resolution or just a statement that we made. But yes, I think that's a good point, and I think that in conjunction with the memorandum of understanding, that we would want to take anything off the books that could make us a target for
The
this
welcoming.
law. Yeah. I think the word welcoming might be okay, but not sanctuary. I mean, I'm not going to make a political commentary other than to just kind of roll my eyes at that. But yes, I do think we should revisit that, and that's a great point. And I've got a few of these require revisiting, and I have notes on it, so I plan to bring those back to you over the next couple months as necessary.
Okay, thank you so much.
Last thing on that point is there's another provision in the same law regarding, we were sort of pioneers in Clarkston on the making simple marijuana possession a ticketed offense. And there is a provision in this law that says if you issue a ticket versus what we traditionally think of as an arrest, taking someone to jail, they named 4 different laws, or criminal statutes rather: misdemeanor marijuana, shoplifting, refund fraud, and criminal trespass. This law is insisting that the officer that issues that citation must process the person, which means put them through fingerprinting and basically make sure they don't have a warrant out for them or a ICE detainer out for them. This is kind of impractical since we don't have a jail. I've had a preliminary conversation with Chief Hudson about this. We don't necessarily have a great solution, if you will, for this right now. So that's something that we're going to continue to look at. Okay, we're home stretch here. Now we're on to Senate bills. Senate Bill 171, Downtown Development Authorities. The traditional rule for all appointed officers is that when their term expires, they continue to serve until they've been replaced by a new appointee. The state has passed a new law saying that in the case of downtown development authorities, the carryover term can only last for 6 months. And after 6 months, the Downtown Development Authority is authorized to elect its own director to fill the vacancy. So it's just an administrative thing, I think, for our staff to keep track of when these terms expire and make sure that the council appoints a replacement within 6 months, or otherwise the DDA can appoint its own replacements. SB 395, Narcon at City Hall. If the city has external defibrillator at City Hall, which I believe we do, then we are required to have 3 doses, I guess you would say, of the Narcan on hand at City Hall also. This is specifically applicable to the building in which the governing authority meets. And finally, SB 404, landlord-tenant law, tenant rights. This law requires that all rental units be, quote, fit for human habitation. And unfortunately, it's not like an opportunity to use our municipal court or police to punish the landlord that's running a less than fit residence. What it is an implied contractual term in the lease. So the tenant could get out of the lease, basically has a legal right to demand that their residence be fit for human habitation. It's a civil thing, but it's something that the city might be able to help by just informing people, and by informing landlords, like, hey, this is your legal responsibility. Okay. In the same law, it provides that it gives all tenants a 3-day grace period when rent is late before an eviction dispossessory proceeding can be initiated. So whenever it's due, they can't go in until another 3 days have elapsed and dispossess the tenant. And finally, it caps the amount, it caps the amount of a security deposit at double the monthly rent.
And it's around the piece of legislation around preempting the cities from requiring the gas station or convenience stores with pumps to have cameras. It's explicitly stated that it has to be because the ordinances are written differently per city and per county. Some of them are a requirement at each gas pump, and then ours is more so you have to have one at the convenience store, not necessarily the gas pump.
Right.
So, caveat, Stephen.
Yes, sorry. I believe it was the state law provision was like 1 or 2 sentences, and it said that any local ordinance requiring cameras inside or outside at a place that sells gasoline for automobiles is preempted. So I think that if a place that sells gasoline wants to not do the camera, that we probably cannot enforce it no matter how we write it up. I think that's the intent of the law. Now, if they already have the cameras, we can't make them keep them, but hopefully they would if they've already made the investment. I mean, it's for their protection.
I have one more question. Is it okay?
Yes, go ahead.
So my question to that then, is there anything written in the legislation that requires us to go to each of the convenience stores with gas pumps and notify them of the changes? No?
Definitely not. I mean, I think it would be a best practice to repeal that section of the ordinance, but all the preemption does is it just means we can't enforce.
Right.
It doesn't mean that we have to educate.
Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right. I'm so glad you ran through all of those for us.
Thank you.
And it helps out when we have an update like this. And then potentially, I think what would also help is that I'm going to reach out to our state elected officials to see if potentially they can come and tell us what we need to do as a municipality to prepare for the 2025 legislative session too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you all. With that, any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go into council comments or remarks, starting with Vice Mayor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. August 16th, I had the pleasure of attending the DeKalb Family-Wide Community Engagement Board Retreat. On the 21st of August, we had a community development meeting. On August the 29th, I attended the DeKalb Municipal Association dinner where we discussed the homeless issues here in DeKalb County and things we can do to possibly assist with that. And as of yesterday, it was YT Bell's birthday. So I would like for anyone that has not told her happy birthday to let her know happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
And that's
Virgo.
all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Councilman Carroll.
No remarks this month.
Okay. Councilwoman Bell, birthday girl. There you go.
Thank y'all. I appreciate that. My eyes are running, so I attended the Democratic National Committee convention as a delegate and as a platform committee member in August. I also went to the Policy Link as a local progress delegate, where we talked about equitable communities, equitable economies, and also how do we have a accountable democracy. And also spoke to residents most recently about how to strategically plan around how we civically engage younger individuals, 18 to 24. I guess they're working up some small neighborhood events and they want to know how to do it and where the resources are. In addition to that, also I'm working on with the city staff, so shout out to all the city admin that are supporting with the public safety summit that we're working on now to provide more education and resource awareness and how it takes all of us to ensure that we have solutions to some of the most recent public safety concerns that have been come to our city. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Hood.
Happy birthday, Councilwoman Bell. We have a joint transportation and environmental committee along with the Historic Preservation Commission meeting tomorrow night, 6:30 at the Women's Club. We are discussing the future of the historic house at 40 Oaks. And so I invite all of you to please attend if you have interest in that, because the future of that building is very much in jeopardy. And we've got a very short time period to come up with a plan to keep the house from being demolished. So I hope you will join us, and there's a flyer in the back about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I attended the intersection conference put on for the Council for Quality Growth and heard our mayor speak on a panel there looking at infrastructure and just creative ways of addressing housing and other needs in the cities. Also had the pleasure of witnessing our team receive an award from the Georgia ASLA for the Greenway project. So again, thank you so much to Lisa Cameron and Mr. Kaiser and also our additional consultants that put so much work into that. I really think it's a poster child for how community engagement should be done. So I'm excited to see that project continue, and it was well deserved. And then finally, I also attended, we did have a community development civic engagement committee meeting as well that I went to with Vice Mayor Johnson.
All right, thank you. And I'll go into the mayor's report remarks. As Councilman Perkins stated, I was a panelist for the Council for Quality Growth's Intersection Conference. I'm very excited about that. I've also been selected as ARC's, in addition to their local leaders housing cohort. I'm also a part of their Regional Leadership Institute, and so I'm very excited to be a part of that. And I wanted to bring these points up because as we're doing all this planning, you should hear these numbers. By 2050, between the ages of 0 to 18, it'll be 4.6%. Ages 19 through 34, 4.7%. Ages 35 through 54, 20.1%. 55 through 64, 31.2%. And over 65, 122.4% within the areas of the 10 to 11 counties that make up Atlanta. And so I wanted to make sure you kind of heard that, because that's a shift in a lot of ways in terms of people not having children, how we're looking at our community. So we have to think about all of those things as we're doing our planning and how we're making our community strong. Also attended the GA ASLA Award Center, and again, thank you for the Greenway Project and all the teams that helped to make that possible. And the interim city manager and I had a wonderful discussion on the 15th about 50 years. This year marks the 50th anniversary of refugees and immigrants coming to Clarkston. And so we're working with the team from Mercer to come up with some ideas and some programs about how we deal with that. They are have some of our members to be part of a placemaking program, and so they're doing the research to see how our city has grown with our immigrant and refugee community. So just imagine that 50 years in Clarkston of being a place where many have found an opportunity to have a new life, new growth. So we're excited about that in terms of how we're going to showcase this. And as of today, we are going to be featured in a magazine with the Business View for the December 2024 issue, and so we'll be highlighted as a city in terms of our projects and other things. So I'm very excited about that, and I'll have our interim city manager and us. We're going to do that interview and have some additional comments and photos. So we are being seen not only here in the city, but globally as well as nationally, and right here in our community of DeKalb County. So I'm happy about that, and I'm also working with our DeKalb Municipal Association as we're looking at having a new liaison for that particular position. And so as part of the policy committee, we're looking at how we can have a new person. Bill Floyd has served us well for many years, and so we're going to have a new person in that role. And so collectively we're working to make sure that we have the structure in place to have the right person in there. And finally, one more. I have been appointed as chair for the DeKalb Board of Health, so I'm very excited about that and being able to serve in that capacity. And finally, I want to make sure we recognize Georgia Reads Day. And as you know, I have really enjoyed this whole Tots Town Hall and how we're expanding. And in fact, Miss Yolanda back there, we're getting ready. We got cornered by the younger people, and they said, well, we need a teens town hall too, right? And so, but we're going to talk about this resolution, and that is for September 30th. And it's Georgia Reads Day proclamation. And it goes over to talk about literacy, whereas literacy is not just an education issue, but an economic, workforce, and quality of life issue. And it is also a predicator of future educational achievements, economic status, and lifelong health and well-being. And whereas in 2023, 61% of Georgia's rising fourth graders did not read proficiently, and research shows that children who are proficient readers by the end of third grade are 4 times more likely to graduate from high school than their peers who are not reading on grade level. And whereas the Georgia Assembly recognized the importance of literacy skills with the passage of 2 laws in 2023, SB 211 that creates the Georgia Council on Literacy, and HB 538 that requires comprehensive education reforms for reading instruction in science or of and science of reading. And whereas understanding that the collaborative effort and strategic partnerships must be undertaken to effectively address literacy issues, the Georgia Municipal Association, GMA, and its nonprofit organization, Georgia City Solution, members of the Georgia General Assembly, and football champion, now turned children's author Malcolm Mitchell partner with the Georgia Council on Literacy to launch Georgia Reads at the 2024 GMA Annual Convention. And whereas community involvement is essential to literacy improvement, and Georgia Reads will include recognizing 10 community partnerships that have increased literacy in the past 3 to 5 years as Georgia Reads communities. And whereas September 30th, 2024 marks a date when all Georgians are encouraged to create awareness about the importance of reading and encourage community partnerships to promote future literacy improvements. And whereas together we can improve Georgia economics vitality one book at a time, therefore I, Mayor Beverly Burks, do hereby proclaim September 30th, 2024 in the city of Clarkston as Clarkston's Read Day, and encourage all residents, businesses, and community partners to help promote and elevate literacy as a community priority. And we are continuously doing that, especially with our early learning. So thank you again for that. And with that, we will go into public comments. And as part of public comments, any member of the public may address the council during the time allocated for public comments. Each attendee will be allowed 3 minutes for comments at the discretion of the presiding officer. The public comment period will be limited to 40 minutes, and it is not a time for dialogue. If your public comment consists a series of questions, please submit those to the city clerk in writing. This will facilitate follow-up by the council or staff. The city council desires to allow an opportunity for public comment. However, the business of the city must proceed in an orderly, timely manner. And with that, our clerk, Mrs. Mitchell, do we have anyone signed up?
No, Mayor.
Okay, but I see former Councilman Moore, who wants to come and give a comment or two.
Thank you. Dean Moore, Rayford Trail, and the list wasn't out when I walked in, so I wasn't able to sign it. I'd like to push back on the marijuana decriminalization that we did here in Clarkston. That was done, I think, in 2016, and the whole purpose behind that, when we found out that the General Assembly legislation had voted in 1983 that municipalities had the right to set the penalty for an ounce or less possession of marijuana. I saw that as an avenue to help eliminate pathways to poverty in the city of Clarkston. We all know that people of color are routinely and improperly targeted for laws like that, and to have them fingerprinted and documented was something we pushed back against. When I found this out, we scheduled several meetings. We had experts come in. We had people that were suggesting repeat offender treatment or education, and we decided not to do that because that would require a record of some sort. This fingerprinting does the same thing. So I hope that we can mount this challenge and push back on that, keep them from coming in. We don't want to go back, as they say. That seems to be the motto of the day, and that would be going back to the dark ages. Presidents have smoked it, states have legalized it, people are running around doing it all the time. To use that against somebody, I think would be inhuman. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want a chance to speak? Okay, with that, we will close public comments. Thank you. And we'll proceed with 6A, which is old business, to consider a resolution confirming the 2024 SPLOST 2 resurfacing project list. And we'll have Mr. Kaiser to come and talk first before we make the motion.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. You have in your package a spreadsheet, and it's titled Reallocation of SPLOST 2 Funding Resurfacing Projects. So I'll wait till you get to that, and then I'll continue on. So the first 3 streets, if you add those up and you estimate the construction cost for those, it's right around 100,000, 108,000 plus or minus. Again, these are all estimates based upon unit prices that I've seen over the last year or so for milling and resurfacing of streets. So then you go to the bottom of the page and it says potential projects to add to the 2024 SPLOST 2 resurfacing program. And what I did was I took all of the streets rated 4 and 5. As you recall, streets that are rated 1 are the worst, 10 is the best. So you take all the streets that are rated 4 and 5, and that accounts to be right around 75,000, give or take. If you add all the streets that are rated 4, 5, and 6, and again, 6, all the 6 rated roads are all the remaining 6 rated roads in the city. You extract out Bacon Street, because Bacon Street is, or should be, we have it on our list for a stormwater project, curb and gutter kind of project. In our stormwater program, it's a capital program in the next couple of years. Take out that. So what you have is you have right around $200,000. If you add up all of the remaining 4, 5, and 6 streets. So keep that thought in mind for 1 minute. The SPLOST 2 bonded projects, there were $700,000 allocated for resurfacing. If you add in LMIG, 23 and 24, that's $204,000. You add in state funding of $138,000, the one with no match, you end up with about $1.1 million. I say all that so that it makes it easier if council chooses to add up all 4, 5, and 6 rated roads, because it's going to bring you right around $1 million, plus or minus a few dollars. So you don't have to worry about which projects to choose. You have all the remaining 4s, all the remaining 5s, and all the 6s in the city. And that encompasses quite a few roads in the city of Clarkston. It does not include all the major ones that we did a couple years ago with SPLOST 1, which are in great condition still. But so that's the analysis. If you take out the first 3 on the top of the list, you add in all the other ones I've identified below, which is, and I'll just read them out. If you add in Costa Woods Lane West, Costa Wood Lane East, Roger Street, Lovejoy Street, Bacon is removed. I put it there only for purposes of information. Orchard Street and Smith Street. Add all of those up, it's right around $200 and something thousand. You add that to the SPLOST of $700,000, that's already been defined by council as is good to proceed forward with that money in the SPLOST 2 as a bonded project. You come in right around $1 million. And so what's remaining is roads rated 7, 8, 9, and 10, which are not on this list. Hope that makes sense.
It did. Council, at this time, you have any comments, or you want to move in terms of the motion? Or would you like to have some discussion before we make the motion? Okay. All right. And I'll take a question. I saw Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Mr. Kaiser, I just want to make sure I'm explicitly clear because there's a lot of information. So when we say what we're approving tonight on the project list would be everything in Exhibit D minus the streets marked with red dots, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then we would, in addition to that, be approving on the following page, basically the list of roads. I think it's Costa Woods Lane, both Costa Woods Lanes, Roger, Lovejoy, Bacon, Orchard, and Smith.
Correct.
Is your recommendation?
And no Bacon.
No Bacon.
No.
Fine print, not recommended. Okay, I'm seeing that now. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
I
That's
just
it.
want to make sure I was clear on what we're talking about.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, Councilwoman Bell?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Kaiser, for that analysis. So originally we were set to spend with the 3 roads that for the future plan was looking a little bit over 110,000. That's what I'm gonna estimate. So if we just match that amount for the potential projects that you have listed here, would that be an issue? Because we weren't given the other numbers for this $200,000 amount beforehand. And I would like for a budgetary constraint and just like what's on the books, just to keep it balanced. But does that make sense for everybody else?
Well, I guess the question is, when you brought up the additional 100,000, are you saying that in terms of all the funding that we have allocated, that we would be able to stay within that?
Yes. So you have $700,000 in SPLOST 2 already bonded. You add the LMIG money, and you add the $138K of free money from the governor. All that added up is right around $1 million. So if you add back in, take out the first three, add back all the bottom ones, you come in right around $1 million. So if you wanted to stay within the 108,000, whatever the number is, then you would have to go down and see the bottom. If you say add SPLOST, if you add streets 4 and 5, that gives you 75. So it's still under the 103, right? And you added 4, 5, and 6 all together as bacon, but then you take out bacon, it's 200,000. So you're over 100,000 if you add in all 4, 5s, and 6s. If you only do 4s and 5s, you only add 75,000 in. So you're coming in under. So at the end of the day, you're going to end up with more. So if you choose to only put in 75,000, okay, you're going to come in under the number. You're going to reduce the SPLOST to resurfacing program monies less than 700,000. So you won't use all the SPLOST monies that council has approved of for resurfacing, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Councilwoman Hood.
I'm struggling with these numbers. SPLOST, 700,000, I get it. What is the free money?
That's the 138,000 of governor-funded money that we were informed about right before the retreat.
And then
LMIG 23 and 24, the 2 years combined that we have to use this year, because we combine the 2 years, that's 204,000.
And what is that total?
That total is right about 1.1 million, give or take a few dollars.
1.1 million
Yep.
is what we talked about in the past.
Correct. If you see on the spreadsheet from the SPLOST 2 program, you don't have it in front of you. I don't have mine either. I detailed all of the SPLOST 2 bonded projects, and that $1.1 million was the number that was in the notes section of the spreadsheet I had. Again, I only offer that as an option. That's the only reason I bring that up, not to confuse everybody.
Okay. So, Mr. Kaiser, if we kept to the 4s and 5s, and this is going out for bid when?
So we did some preparatory work. The bids came in for some asphalt coring work. So I would estimate sometime in the month of October, it'll go out to bid.
Okay. So based on where we are once it goes out to bid, then next year, do we have the option to address the 6th Street?
Yeah. So it all depends on what the bid prices come in at, obviously. But if you go in, take out 108 and add back 75, you should have some amount of money next year to do some more work. But there's a caveat. The caveat is the larger the number of projects, the better the unit prices. So if we have $1 million contract this year, plus or minus, and we have a $100,000 one next year, you're not going to get the same unit prices. Instead of the asphalt prices being $110 a ton, maybe $130 a ton because you have a smaller list of projects.
Okay. And then we'll have the option of LMIG in 2025?
2025, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll have potentially another 130-something thousand.
No, it'd be about 105, 110, I think.
Okay. So if we had any issues, we would have that additional
Add to it.
100,000.
Right.
Okay. Councilman Carroll.
I guess I understand the removal of Mock Street because that may be developed and the developer will correct. But it seems like we would want to do Jameson and College in the future, if not the near future, just with the additional traffic calming and some curb work on College and just the agreement with the county on Jameson. So by taking these off the list, does that mean we can't do it with this round of SPLOST and we have to wait for LMIG, or how does that?
No, so Jameson is still a doable project based upon what happens with Commissioner Bradshaw. So we haven't addressed that, so I just assumed off of it now. But if we add it back in, that's just it's another $15,000. It's a pretty small amount.
Right.
Yeah, very small amount.
And what about college?
That's a future project that would be all intertwined with a speed calming program. Raising the granite curb up, putting speed calming in, and resurfacing the road, all as one bid package.
That would have to be a separate.
Yes.
Out of this round of SPOS.
Yeah, well, you could add it to another future resurfacing list, but usually the contractors that do speed tables and curb and gutter work are not the same contractors that do asphalt work. There would have to be so the asphalt work would have to be subbed out to somebody else. You might still get a good price. I mean, there's a lot of options available in the future for college and Mock and Jameson in the event you want to do it in the future.
Is that like a future LMAG project?
Yeah, well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So council, is your pleasure to do 4, 5, and 6 in terms of the vote, or just to keep it to 4 and 5? Councilwoman Bell?
So my initial thought process is to do the 4s, the 1, 5, and then Orchard Street will Jolly to Pecan, and that'll get us around that 108. It'll just balance the bucket that we're already in, and then we can move on next year when we got the additional funds. But that's just so it could be balanced in the books from a budgetary constraint perspective. But that's my rationale.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll just take a motion on that and we can move on. Thank you, Kelsey.
I have a motion.
Okay.
A motion to consider a resolution confirming the 2024 SPLOS 2 resurfacing project list, which will include Castlewood Lane West, that's from Casa Drive to the cul-de-sac. And that is at a pavement condition rating of 4. In addition to that, Lovejoy Street, that's from Rolling Street to Church Street, that's at a condition of 4. Casa Drive Lane East, from Casa Drive to the cul-de-sac, that's in condition rating 5. And then finally, Orchard Street, from Jolly Avenue to Pecan Street, and that's at a rating of 6.
Is there a second? Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded to approve a resolution confirming the 2024 SPLOS 2 resurfacing project list to include Castlewood Lane West, that's a 4, and then also Lovejoy, which is also a 4, Castlewood Lane East, that is a 5, and Orchard Street, Jolly Avenue to Pecan Street, and that is a 6. Is there any further discussion? And then Councilwoman Bell, did you have the amount so we can make sure in terms of the amount?
Yep, I can add the amounts here. So, Castlewood Lanes West, the total amount is $42,000. Castlewood Lane East, the total amount is $22,000. So at this point, we had $64,000. Lovejoy Street is at $11,000. So we're at $75,000. And then Orchard Street, which is at $30,000. So you're looking at $105,000 total.
Okay.
And that's
All right.
just quick math now. Check me on it. Let's
Okay.
get it here.
All right, Council. Yes, Councilwoman Hood.
Yes. So we're doing both 4s, the single 5, and we're doing 1 6. Now, there are a couple of other 6s, not including Bacon. So can you let me know the distinction of why one 6 should be funded and the other 2 6s should not?
So it's less about the condition rating and more so about the total amount and finding the balance in the budgetary allocation. Because initially, when we had the other 3 projects on there that we're not gonna move on, it was around 108 to 105. If we move with the 4s and 5, as Mr. Kaiser mentioned, that'll be $75,000. But if we move on the 4s, the 1.5, and the 1.6, we're at $105,000. So just a budget allocation and balance.
Okay, so you're making the numbers work.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, are you ready for the question? All in favor to approve a resolution confirming the 2024 SPLOST 2 resurfacing project list to include Castlewood Lane West, which is a 4, Lovejoy Street, which is a 4, Castlewood Lane East, that's a 5, and Orchard Street from Jolly Avenue to Pecan, and that's a 6, for a total of $105,000. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passed. All right, so we'll move on to consent agenda. And so as part of consent agenda is that the council has agreed that there is no further discussion on these items. And with that, I will entertain a motion for items 7A through C. Yes, Councilman Perkins?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, which includes item 7A, to consider a resolution committing matching funds in the event that the city is awarded the Atlanta United 100 pitch grant to fund the installation of lights at the Milam Park soccer field in the amount of $100,000 to be funded out of SPLOST 2. Item 7B, to consider a resolution committing matching funds to the proposed projects for the 2023 and 2024 local maintenance and improvement grant funding in the amount of $61,333.95 to be funded out of SPLOST 2. Item 7C, to consider a resolution committing matching funds for the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act Safe Streets for All Transportation Planning Grant in the amount of $250,000 to be funded out of SPLOST 2. Thought I had another item.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded to approve this consent agenda items from 7A to 7C. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Now we'll move on to new business, which is to defer a change of ownership alcohol license application for Massey 7311 LLC DBA Lulu's Package Store located at 3900 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, Clarkston, Georgia 30021 to September 24th work session and October 1st city council meeting. And I'll start off with our clerk, Ms. Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This item was discussed at the last City Council work session. There were some discussions about the city attorney getting back with the City Council pertaining to a possible amendment to the existing ordinance. Due to that, we did reach out to the applicant asking for consent to defer this application to the September 24th work session, October 1st City Council meeting. The applicant did respond. She consented and confirmed that she was okay to defer this item.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I will take a motion on item 8A. Councilwoman Bell?
Yeah, I move to defer change of ownership alcohol license application for Massey 7311 LLC DBA Lulu's Package Store at 3900 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, Clarkston, Georgia 30021 to the September 24th work session and October 1st City Council meeting.
Is there a second? Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded to defer a change of ownership alcohol license application for Massey 7311 LLC DBA Lulu Package Store located at 3900 East Ponce de Leon Avenue, Clarkston, Georgia 30021 to September 24th work session and October 1st city council meeting. Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed say nay.
May.
Okay. Any abstentions? Motion passed. Thank you. We'll move on to 5B, which is to consider a change of ownership alcohol license application for Yetalia Enterprise LLC, DBA Ponce Cafe, located at 3652 Market Street, Suite C2, Clarkston, Georgia 30021. And I'll again go back to our clerk, Ms. Mitchell.
Again, this is another change of ownership. However, this application is for a restaurant. The business did meet all the code compliances. There were no non-compliance listed upon this applicant, so staff does recommend approval.
Okay. So at this time, I will take a motion from the council on this agenda item.
I have a motion.
Yes, Councilman Perkins.
I move that we approve the change of ownership for the alcohol license application for Yetalia Enterprise LLC, DBA Ponce Cafe, located at 3652 Market Street, Suite C2, Clarkston, Georgia 30021.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded to approve a change of ownership alcohol license application for Yetalia Enterprise LLC DBA Ponce Cafe located at 3652 Market Street, Suite C2, Clarkston, Georgia 30021. Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passed. We'll move on to item 8C, which is to consider continuation of audiovisual services by Icon Filmworks until November 1st, 2024 for the council work sessions, council meetings, and special call meetings in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to be funded out of professional services. And I'll let the interim city manager to discuss this piece.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in regards to the current audiovisual services that we have with Icon Filmworks. This item was discussed at the work session, and staff is recommending that we be allowed to extend the current services with this provider while we are in the process of doing a request for proposals. And staff is recommending approval that we continue with Icon Filmworks until November 1st, 2024, in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to be funded out of professional services.
Okay. At this time, I'll take a motion from council.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I approve the continuation of audiovisual services by Icon Filmworks until November 1st, 2024 for the council work sessions, council meetings, and special call meetings in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to be funded out of our professional services.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve a continuation of the audiovisual services by Icon Filmworks until November 1st, 2024 for the council work session, council meetings, and special called meetings in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to be funded out of professional services. Is there further discussion? Yes, Councilman Carroll, I'm sorry.
So I don't have an issue with extending this, but my question, I guess, is for staff.
Put your mics up. No, not yours, Jamie. Everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is for staff. I know that we spent quite a bit of money in this equipment. Did we ever get an answer for what happened, or if it's possible to make it functional? Because that was a large investment.
Yes,
that wouldn't have to be seen one way.
As you mentioned, the city did spend about $65,000 on the current equipment with BIS Digital. It is working to do audio recording for our court, but the visual portion is currently not working, and staff is working with the technicians with BIS Digital to see if we can get it working. Because ultimately, we would like to be able to transfer this equipment over to the new building and be able to use it, but it's currently not working now, so we do need some additional time to figure out what's going on.
Councilwoman Bell?
So I just have a point of clarity. We talked about this extensively in the work session, but to your point, Intercity Manager Tammy Sadler-Jones, you mentioned that some of the system works, but not all of it. Is that the problem, that we didn't buy like a full revamp of the system, but we put pieces of the system together, and that's why we have an issue that we have? You don't know?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think for this particular motion,
Oh, yeah.
we need to stay on track, because it's about whether or not we're going to stay at the 30 or not, and if we need to introduce something on the agenda, by all means, or follow up. So is your question on this?
Maybe.
Well, I'll stop you. Trust me, I will
You
stop you.
stop me.
I will stop you.
Okay. At our work session, this came up, and we were going to give city staff till January to work this out. But if we're going to pass this through November and then go out for an RFP, we'll be going out for an RFP.
No, we already
already
have,
out.
the RFP's already out.
been
What
extended.
we're making sure is they have a timeline to review the applications as reported at last work session. My understanding, at the mandatory meeting, there were 22 proposals or bidders that came out, and so staff needs the adequate time to review those applications, present that information to us, and have it ready at least by our next meeting. And so, but what we've done is, just in case they don't have enough time with their workload, we've given them a little extra time for that. But the goal, and correct me if I'm wrong, Interim City Manager Jones, is to have it ready for the 24th work session. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
All
so,
right.
so,
My concern about why we would enter into a contract for this service before we get to the bottom of the story of the equipment could be taken at the meeting when we are about to award the contract. Would that be the better place to make that point?
City, go ahead.
Thank you. This is not a contract. We're not signing anything with Icon. It's really a spending authorization for the city manager. So the arrangement with Icon is that they have a certain price for each meeting, and we either ask them to do it or don't.
All right.
So just as a
then-
follow-up, Councilwoman Hood,
Then
if
this-
you recall, there was a deadline of August to have this done. And because there were some issues with the actual bidding process, we extended the bid time, which meant that that deadline would not be met. And so to ensure that from a continuity that we have everything set up, we've just extended that contract, the sources in terms of the services, professional services.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, with that being said, are you ready for the question? All in favor to approve a continuation of the audiovisual services by Icon Filmworks until November 1st, 2024 for the council work session, council meetings, and special call meetings in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to be funded out of professional services, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passed, and one abstention. Thank you very much. And then we'll move on to the final item, which is 8D, to consider appointing a member to fill a vacancy of the Clarkston Historic Preservation Commission, and we'll have Ms. Cameron to provide that information to us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you are aware, I think a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, the city lost a member of the Historic Preservation Commission. And since then, we've been seeking to fill that, that role. And in doing so, we have been advertising for the vacancy. We have, at this moment, we have 2 applicants. One has communicated that, that they are very much considering the position, and I'm waiting to hear back from the other applicant. So I have not heard back. I've reached out, have not heard back, but we continue to advertise because we do want the city to be represented. Because we're such a diverse community, we want to make sure that all of our historic buildings and areas are represented and taken into consideration. So at this time, I will, you know, whatever the pleasure of the board is, I can provide you with, and I believe your packet has one of the applicant, but again, because I have not heard back from the other applicant, I did not include her information.
Okay, and that applicant is?
Miss Battle, her last name is Miss Battle. Miss Keon Battle. I'm sorry, the one that you have, first name is Robin.
Robin Sands?
Yes.
Okay, so that is recommendation. So at this time, council, Councilwoman Bell? Yeah. You have a question? Oh, you want to make sure?
Yes, we need to, how do you want us to do this? Discuss it with myself?
We got to make the motion first.
You want to make the motion for the person?
Yes. Current applicant that we have.
It's,
Turn it on. Turn it on.
turn
We
it
can't
on,
hear you.
council. We want to hear you.
I move that we appoint Robin Sands to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded to appoint Robin Sands to the Clarkston Historic Preservation Commission. Is there any further discussion at this time?
Well,
Yes.
My only point of discussion is Ms. Cameron mentioned that there were 2 applicants and that you have followed up with the one individual, but you haven't heard anything back. And I know that we've had this out for a while, and so I just want to, if it's the pleasure of the council, to give that person enough time to follow back up. But I mean, we want you to fill the vacancy, but I also want to make
Right.
sure that you have good quality of folks, and like we've given people open opportunity if they want to be a part of it, because it has been open for so long.
And also, now that we have a communication manager, she's also putting the information out, I believe, in all of our social pinpoints. So hopefully we'll get more applicants, but right now it's been kind of challenging.
Okay. So, Vice Mayor Johnson.
Ms. Cameron, how long ago did this applicant apply?
She actually applied at least a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So she was the first, actually, she was the very first applicant.
And Councilwoman Hood?
Yes, I think we need to move forward with this appointment. As you know, we've got a significant issue facing us with the deadline on 40 Oaks. And I think we need this addition right now. We've got an applicant who has continued to be interested in this, and so I would recommend that we appoint this person to this commission at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Councilwoman Bell?
No, the only thing I'll say to that is that the issue at hand with 40 Oaks comes back to the council for us to move on it. Doesn't have to go to that commission, but I mean, if y'all want to fill the vacancy because it's been open for so long, I'm open to that. I just think that if a person applied at one point, life happens, maybe something have changed, and you're gonna need more than just one person just filling out to keep the board balanced, but you need additional people to join it. Is that correct?
That's the one.
Right. There's some other issues. when you look at the ordinance and you look at the terms, we also have, individuals that has actually served their terms. Yes, so, and I'll get with the city attorney about that.
So based on what you're saying is, if we have two applicants, you haven't been able to get a hold of the other one, at least we can get this one filled with that applicant, and if that other seat is available.
Yes.
Okay? Councilman
I'm not
Perkins?
understanding that.
Wait, I'll recognize Councilman Perkins, and then I'll let you.
Ms. Cameron, so can we just get out of the details, like how many, I know there's 3
Yes, sir.
appointments. How many appointments are coming up and when do those terms expire?
So, based on when the commission was formed, according to the code, it says that the mayor appointee serves 1 year, but can only serve 2 consecutive terms. And then the council, they appoint for a 2-year term. The maximum is 2 consecutive terms. And then the third is 3 years, but it's only for 2 consecutive terms. So based on that, you have a couple of individuals, terms that have already expired.
Would they need to be reappointed, or at this point, can they
Well-
not be reappointed based on the term limits?
I need to get with the city attorney to see how he interprets that.
Okay.
Okay,
And then,
go
I
ahead.
mean, one more question.
And
So
then
then,
I'll advise.
just implications, because I know as Councilwoman had mentioned, I think there's some concerns in terms of, I think we talked about, bare minimum, putting a plaque, something that kind of captures the history of the 40 Oaks house, to coming up with additional plans. Is the HBC necessary for any of that to move forward, or can that work be done without the HBC being fully functional? Because I wasn't aware of, it sounds like this is more than a 1-member issue, which is the first time.
Right, well, and that is what caused me to actually dig deeper in it. So basically what you're saying, and Councilman Perkins, I would have to actually look at more information, because I wasn't here when a lot of the discussions went on. I believe Miss Lisa William brought up some points that was actually made before I got here, so I'm not really sure if I have all the facts as to what was said in the committee, but I do. The tax that was given to the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission, for them to look at doing a plaque was well within their rights, and we had that discussion in a meeting, and I thought we were moving forward on that, and then, of course, we started, that's when the committee came up, and not sure what happened after that, but again, I have to go back and do some more research about, what took place before I got here.
Okay. Vice Mayor Johnson?
Ms. Cameron, since you need to get with the city attorney to basically validate the status of the commission now, will it be a problem to wait a couple of weeks on this other applicant? Or, because technically, in the status that they're in, can they still function? Or that's what you're having to clear up with the city attorney?
So they can still function. Yes, ma'am, they can still function. Again, it's just the wording of the code, and I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything or misinterpreting what's in the code.
But if some of their terms have expired, what do you mean they can still function?
That would be in the interpretation
That
of
was my
the,
question.
yes,
Okay.
that would be the interpretation of the
Okay, thank
city attorney.
Yes, Councilwoman Hood.
We have issues relative to terms, and I understand that needs to be worked out. But what we have before us tonight is an applicant who has asked and has waited to be appointed by this body, and I think that issue should be separate from the term issue of the other people. So I think that this position has been vacant long enough. I understand that there was another applicant several months ago, but this applicant is not responding to communication from the city, and so I don't see how we really have any other choice or opportunity to do anything but appoint this person who has made the application out, has communicated, has shown up for council meetings, etc. So that would be my choice. It's not a big question. We have a vacancy, we have an applicant.
Councilman Carroll.
I'll just be brief. I agree with Councilman Hood. I think we appoint Robin Sands, and then there may be an opening later for Ms. Battle if she shows interest and re-engages with the city.
Okay. Are you ready for the question?
Got another
Oh,
question.
Councilwoman Bell.
Do you have a quorum on this commission?
Yes. But if you look at the terms, again, the city attorney would have to
Advise.
advise on that.
Okay. Are you ready for the question? Okay. All in favor to appoint Robin Sanders to fill a vacancy on the Clarkston Historic Preservation Commission, say aye.
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 Okay, so we have 3. And that, Councilman Carroll,
As an aye.
as an aye. Okay. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion passed. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor to adjourn, say aye.
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 Aye. Meeting over. Thank you all.